Guys, welcome back to the channel. And today's one, I am going to be talking about, I think, let's start by saying, this game between the Springboks and the All Blacks, it's not just this one. It is rugby, refereeing in general has become so controversial. And the main reason for it becoming so controversial is just due to all the rules and the interpretation of the rules. And they've World Rugby has kind of really created an animal now, because they want to speed up the game. They only want to show a replay once, but at the same time, they still want to be fair in their refereeing. Well, that's the question. Do they? Because it's almost like, I heard some of my viewers say, don't sweep it under the rug. Don't sweep it under the rug, Joe. I'm not sweeping at all what happened in the game under the rug. The point I'm trying to make is, I don't want to be one of those YouTube channels that's just complaining about refs all the time. Because, guys, it's like a conspiracy theory. It's a deep hole. When you go down it, you're never coming back out. And you will still see this in the years to come. All the teams will discredit each other's wins because of officiating and small things. And I'm not saying that's right. What I'm saying is, I don't see World Rugby fixing this anytime soon. And they've just made it harder for the referees. These referees are getting, threats. And you can see on social media, the guys are ruthless in the stuff they say. Some of the stuff that's also been said to me, but I don't mind. I'm a YouTuber, so I'm used to comments of all sorts. Some think I'm a agent. I'm actually all black. Nah, I'm not one of those South Africans. Yeah, I might be wearing black today. Who cares? I am a Springbok supporter. That doesn't mean I don't have a huge respect for the All Blacks, but I also have a huge respect for the game of rugby. And why I wanted to put this video out, we're going to look at some of these instances, and I'm just going to give my thoughts around it. But I just want my channel, I really want rugby lovers to kind of try and unite, and for the common goal of being fans and enjoying rugby. That's what it's all about. If we become just mudslingers, because that's what happens. You start questioning a decision which is controversial, then the other team will pick other decisions and throw that out at the other supporters. So I mean, how social media is. I'm just watching the Facebook comments and the stuff the guys are saying. It is insane what some guys are saying, and it's a lot of mudslinging. That's not what I want to do with this video. I really just want to look at a few things and then just discuss what I think is happening in World Rugby. So let's start with the first thing, which is the most controversial, the try from the Springboks from Bongi and Mbonambi. Now, from a perspective of a general rugby fan, which is what I am no pundit, nothing of that sort. I react to rugby videos and just give my reaction at that moment, and sometimes my reaction might change afterwards. Now, you could see on the video my reaction was like, at first I thought it's a try. When I'm looking at it again, I'm like, no, I think maybe this was not a try, because from the naked eye, that's how it looks. It looks like it was basically knocked forward. But that is why a lot of the All Black supporters feel that should have not been a try. There's no debate about it. But obviously, down the laws, there's a lot of different ways to interpret it. So from a All Black perspective, they would say it was ripped out by Jordie Barrett out of Bongi and Mbonambi's hand. That means it's a knock-on. That means it's not a try. From a Springbok supporter's perspective, and there's been a lot more coming out now lately, I'd say in the last, day. What they're saying is when a ball is ripped. So say Bongi and Mbonambi was going over, and the ball wasn't being ripped by Jordie. And by the way, Jordie Barrett, how good is that guy at ripping balls, getting under the try scorers? He's been doing it now for years, and he's so good at it in that center position, getting himself in positions to make it really difficult for the guys to score. But in this case, if Jordie Barrett wasn't there, that was a clear knock-on, for sure, And I think it would have been called. Some will argue, but I think that would have been called. But the fact is, they say because he ripped the ball, the rules are the game is play on. So it's the same as Kwagga Smith suddenly trying to rip a ball out of someone's hand and it bounces out and someone picks it up. Play goes on, right? So the problem, what they're saying there is, because he ripped the ball out and then Bongi and Mbonambi went down with a try, that is not seen as, the movements are the first movement. It's not separation, because there was a movement in between of ripping the ball. Then afterwards he put the pressure down on the floor. So interpretation, you don't have to agree with me, but that's what's come out. Now, what does that mean now? I see so many people discredit the Springboks win by 4 points, saying that because that try would have been 7 points, that's the case. It would have actually not been the case. But you can't do that. You can't take one instance and then go and look at a whole game. The Springboks pretty much, honestly, kind of dominated the All Blacks in the last 15 minutes. Before that, the All Blacks was really good, especially the start of the second half. But those last 15, 20 minutes was all Springboks. And the All Blacks tried, but they were pinned into their own half and they couldn't do much. Now, let's say we go look further. If you want to start doing this and you say, oh, but that try, that's the 5 points. Well, as soon as that's happened, then you play for something different in those players' minds. Now they know they need to score another 5 points. So they would have pushed harder to get back in the game. So you can't do that. It's like I've said, the butterfly effect. One thing happens and then other things will happen and the game wouldn't have played out the same. And then you go look at this mudslinging. You go look at just after that try, D-Mac was taking his time on the kick again of his whole routine of the grin and all of that many has scrutinized and says wasting time. You can see clearly the clock ran out. He was still allowed to give the kick. Yet, just a little bit later, when Sasha was close to the time, he was penalized. So you take the 3 points, you take the 2 points away. That wasn't given that basically should have not been given. Suddenly, the score could have still been in the Springboks' favour. I'm just trying to explain here, guys. I'm not putting anything under the carpet. I'm trying to say the point is that at the end of the day, you can't start going down that route. And if you're going to be a rugby fan that's going to do that, you're going to put yourself in a position where you eventually won't enjoy rugby, you kind of got to accept it is what it is, and the team's got to roll with the punches and then work harder to still win the game. You've got to play against a ref, as some say. And it's really becoming the case now in World Rugby. You've got to play against a ref as well, because that ref will have wrong calls both ways, and sometimes shocking ones that can hurt you. So that's all I will say with that. You can go look at some of the scrum decisions. If you really go look at it, this ref had no interest in looking at the scrums, and that's such a shame. Tyrell Lomax was standing up so well against Oxenchair. There were some of those scrums that could have gone the All Blacks' way in a penalty. The same for the Springboks. They definitely would have won some of those if the ref didn't allow everyone to get that ball out so quickly and not look at the scrums properly with the TMO. There was definitely some scrums collapsing before the ball was out, or just when the ball came out, that he could have called, which he didn't, because World Rugby's pushing faster games. So this is what worries me, guys. I mean, that's my first point. I would say, before I go into the point of what worries me about where World Rugby's pushing the game, I have to say, be careful of just looking at all these issues and overlooking the good things in the game. That rolling maul tries, the first one from the All Blacks, the 2 from the Springboks was brilliant. The intercept try from Geordie Barrett, great. The tries that they scored on the counter attack with Caleb Clark, great. There was a lot on both sides, a lot of great moments. Grant Williams' try, sniping, the Tupavaye, surprising everyone, getting over balls there. Kwagga Smith's try and the way he was jackling, all the jackling that the players, all the hard work they put in, and how good both teams were on defense at times. And it's like some of those beautiful, expansive rugby they played their hearts out, and now you don't respect all of that because you just keep hammering down on all the issues. So I'm just saying, you want to appreciate rugby, walk away from each game, win or lose. And I will be in the losing team at times. I know it's coming. I felt that with the Ireland game. You're always going to go look at those 1-2 instances, but then I tell myself, what's the point in that? Like, forget about it, move on, and enjoy the games for the wins. And you have to accept that the refs now has got such a big influence on the game, and they're not using their TMOs like they should. Now that will bring me to the next point. There is a contradiction. So you've got this big panel of guys, like all referees, because the game has become so complicated, because every year World Rugby adds another 3 laws because we want to speed up the game, because of this, because of that. They keep adding on laws, which makes that book this thick for a ref to be a ref. And what happens with that then is that at the end of the day, there's so many laws that they now have to have these TMOs and these panels and whatever. And they've got so many people to look at the game, but then they make a decision a year ago or whatever, we want to speed up the game. It's taking too much broadcast time. Probably the broadcasters was also complaining because they were running over their time with broadcasting, because they were doing replays, technical reviews, TMOs, checking things, how many, very stop-start, which I understand became an issue. But now what they've done is, speed it up, speed it up. So now it is World Rugby saying, and the broadcasters, let's sweep it under the carpet, because what they'll do is they don't give the commentators a chance to give their opinions enough, to re-look at the replay enough. They also don't give the TMOs chance on broadcasting for us to see what the TMO is thinking and what they're thinking out of a professional perspective of these games. Because what they do is they give us one replay and they just move on with the game. So it is World Rugby doing this right now. They kind of just want to speed the game up. Forget about it. Don't ask the questions. And you as a rugby lover is sitting there and saying, that didn't make sense. Why? But we don't know all the rules. I know all rugby fans think, I understand everything. We don't. Especially when it comes to scrums and stuff. We don't. So you need those TMOs and those guys and the refs to say why. And they're not allowing that anymore. They're not allowed to speak to the refs. You look at TJ Baronara. It's just, come, speed up the game. Come on, guys. Just play. We just want entertainment. But most competitive spectators want to know why. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? And that's, I think, what's happening now. With them wanting to speed up the game, it's not that enjoyable for spectators when you don't know why your team was penalized for this. Inconsistencies with tackles. Then it's too high. I see some people talking about the CL1. Personally, for me, as a Springbok supporter, when I look at where the impact was on the shoulder here, sometimes I've seen a shoulder tackle over here be a yellow card. Other times I've seen it be passed. It's just inconsistent. But I mean, he broke his cheekbone and stuff, but it wasn't head-to-head collision. Then everyone says it shouldn't be a card. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be a card. It's still very high on the shoulder. Sam Cane has got an issue of dropping in his tackles. And Siya Kolisi usually runs very upright. So they seem to be clashing quite often, these two guys. And it's just one of those cases where, you know, the interpretation's different for every game. They have no set rules, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And that just creates real animosity between fans. I can't stand All Black support. I can't stand the Springbok support. I can't stand... Because everyone's just standing up for what they think should have been the right call. But this is the problem with just introducing more and more rules by World Rugby, but wanting to speed up the game. So we're not allowed to see why it was called the way it was called. It's like the worst thing. It's like when your dad tells you, you have to do this, and you're like, Dad, but why? Just do as I say. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. And you're like, why? Why should I be doing this? With no clue why. It's the same thing here. I just think where we're going with rugby is that they're wanting to just speed up the game, which means now you can clearly see this referee wanted to have no interest in the scrum side of things, which means he will probably not even brush up that much on his laws on the scrum side of things to really, you know, interpret it right, because he just wants to speed it up. So he's just going to always try and allow those guys to get that ball out of that scrum as quick as possible, because we want running rugby. Which means, why do we have forwards? Why do we have the scrums? Why did we losing an integral part of rugby? Rugby is a contact sport. Rugby is a good, you know, impact sport. You want to see one team scrum the other. That's why we enjoy the rolling mauls as well, you know. It's not just all about running. Running is beautiful, I get it. But, I mean, that is what makes union rugby so awesome, is having that contact and, you know, those contests. So it's kind of just the speeding up of the game. I don't understand where we're going to end up with this. Now every time when officiating happens, it's just like this. You don't get replays, and the game just moves on. That's what ends up happening afterwards. Then everyone blasting social media and creating all this controversy. And you can think, from a referee perspective, it must become crazy. I don't think refs want to be rugby union refs anymore. They'll rather go to rugby league or something else, because it's become so hard to be a ref now in world rugby. And because they are being told, speed up the game, they're trying to not go to the TMOs. They're trying to, as much as possible, avoid having to officiate scrums. They just want that ball out. They just want it to move. You still got good refs that watch the scrums and whatever. Not all of them, but a lot of the new age ones, which I think is just going to try and learn their refereeing skills based on how the game of rugby is now being pushed, which is running. So it's just generally, for me, shocking where we're going with it, because a real competitive rugby lover that's trying to learn the laws and understand why things happen is always going to feel, okay, what happened there? I don't understand it. I'm not saying all laws are bad. I like the law of the 50-22 that's been brought in. It's a really good one. It really can swing a game, but there's skill involved in that. It's not interpretation. You can clearly know what is a 50-22. Keep the rules more simpler to what we can understand, then speed up the game. Then it makes sense, because there's less rules to worry about. But at the same time, put some emphasis still on forwards and scrum type rugby and set piece type rugby, which now you see what they're doing. They just want to throw the ball right over the line out. Because why do you want to throw at your locks if you're cool to just throw it skew over the line out and then retrieve it if you're clever enough? They basically just bypassing the rules and taking totally illegal things in the past in rugby and making it legal now just to speed up the game. It's just, I think it's all about just sensation, because the guy that don't know rugby that well will think it's fabulous because it's sensation, balls flying over the lineouts, and to create sensation. And I think drama sells, so they know, create sensation, just don't give people a chance to know why things happen. And that means the social medias explode afterwards and just talk about the game, which means it promotes that game for them. And it promotes rugby because they're getting more exposure on social media. So it's almost similar to, you hear the stuff that Trump will say. I'm not going political. I don't care. I'm not a serious political guy. I'm just saying Trump will say very incontroversial things because he knows then he will be headlined. Doesn't matter what is being said. You listen to the breakdown. You listen to many sports programs, and you'll get the most controversial comments coming out there because they know it'll be clipped and it will fly through social media. You see JK going, my South African friends, and kind of always going at them because he knows that creates controversy, that creates views, and people, I just think that's where rugby is moving, and it's just what benefits their pockets and what grows the game, irrespective of, it goes down to the old, what's the standards of rugby? And it is sad in a way, guys. And what I'm saying is, when we look at all of this and we go back to this game, Springboks versus All Blacks, you can interpret it as you want, you can feel as you want, but for me the mudslinging is pointless. Going and saying, oh, because that try wasn't given, that's 5 points, we would have won. No, but if that wasn't given, if that penalty didn't go that way, or if you try and really analyze it, some channels have been doing that, it becomes crazy, because then you have to nitpick everything, and that means every call there would have changed the game. That's how it is. So what are we getting at? At the end of the day, who won at the end of the day versus the ref, against the ref, whatever, as one. And that's what will go into the record books. And 2 years from now, you'll probably not even remember all of this. For some, they might, but I mean, especially if you're on the losing side. But we move on, and I think the fire now for the All Blacks will be twice as much for the next game. And the Springboks in the same mind. We know when the Springboks are winning, that's when it's where they really got to watch themselves, that they keep winning and not get too comfortable. And there was stages in that game versus the All Blacks where they seemed to kind of they were a bit complacent at times regarding the fact that it is a whole new players being played in different combinations all the time. But the fact is, if you look at the games, there is a lot of work for the Springboks to be done to start creating. I know Rassie said first year he's experimenting, building for the World Cup, building depth by giving everyone game time. I wouldn't be surprised if he fields maybe 6 to 8 changes. I wouldn't even be surprised. Some are injured, and then he'll probably just give new guys a run, because he's saying this year he's experimenting, and he'll be like, we won enough games now, I'll just experiment. So I wouldn't be surprised with that. But that's the thing, like, you can look at both teams. They have a lot to work on, and we are going to, I'm telling you now, the second game is going to be a big one for the All Blacks. It's going to be one for South Africa. They're going to be tested, because I think Rassie will try new combinations again, throw new guys in there, as I think the way that he thinks. And that will probably create a very, very tight game. And this could be one that the All Blacks can snatch back, which is what Ireland was able to do, and they went back with bragging rights, which is probably what can happen here. And yeah, but on the other side, if the Springboks click on that day, even with some changes in the combinations and the cohesions, and maybe some of those players they bring in really does well, then, and the Springboks win this one, I know some will still feel they don't deserve it, the ref is on their side and all these things, because they're looking out of their coloured glasses, All Black glasses, or Springbok coloured glasses. But the fact is, on paper then, the Springboks have kind of cemented to show, look, this year we've proven to most teams that we are number one. We still lose games in between, but Springboks are number one in the world for a reason at the moment, and it is a lot to do with the way Rassie approaches it. I don't agree in big tests against Australia and the All Blacks that he keeps changing the team, but at the same time he's doing that, he's creating depth. If he didn't do that, no one would know who's Ngome Zulu. Ngome Zulu, I got it right, Ngome Zulu, not a Monga Zulu, Ngome Zulu. No one would have known who that was if he didn't experiment this year and start giving these guys game time and basically build their depth. So generally, very, very happy generally for me where Springbok Rugby is going, and very happy to have seen, living in New Zealand, and really also have a love for All Black Rugby, how well the All Blacks still performed. And it's still a team with a standard up there, even with all the new changes in the drama and the coach changes. Doesn't matter. There is definitely a standard of rugby there, and I think the pressure that Razor will be under to win this game now, I think it's going to be a mammoth one for the second one, and I'm very excited. But yeah, I thought I'd just put this video out there, guys, to kind of just give my opinion on this whole mudslinging thing, on the officiating, on the new approach of fast rugby in World Rugby. That's why the Springboks playing more of a fast game, because they know the set piece game's got very limited exposure still that you can get out of that, or benefits that you can get out of that. So everything's moving to a faster game, which is fair. Everyone's embracing it, and at times it's beautiful. It's action-packed, but I just don't agree with the whole thing. Is they need to really just step back, forget about the fact that they want to just speed up the game, and just give justified TMO feedback that you can hear why something was officiated the way it was officiated. That will make everyone a lot more. When you're watching the game, you don't even focus after that happened, because you keep asking why. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? You don't want to keep doing that. You want to get that feedback from the TMO, if you agree or not, so that you know why they decided to officiate the way they did. And that's not happening anymore. It used to, and that's because they don't want all the replays. They're trying to cut it out so that they get their broadcasting time shorter, more action-packed. And that's the future. And the result of that is now, I just find a lot more like drama among teams, a lot of more mudslinging. And I just don't think, as rugby supporters, we are all celebrating a game together like we should. And a lot of people are just, keep hammering on if that happened, if that didn't happen, and pushing a lot of those angers and stuff onto the supporters, onto the players, and onto the refs, when really you should be looking at World Rugby. It's not even their fault. They're looking again to make money and to speed up the game in action for getting more people to view and building the game that way. But it's them causing all of this to happen right now. That's my opinion. You could be different. Give me your comments in the comment section. Guys, by the way, thanks for all the subscribers in the last video. I mean, so many people subscribed, and the channel, I will just keep it pushing. If you enjoyed my opinions here and you kind of agree with what I say, or you don't agree, like I say, give your comments, but hit the subscribe button too if you want to watch more of these type of videos. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers.